Well, okay, so I have here Robert Fagles' translation of the Odyssey about Odysseus's journey, and we're just going to read the beginning of this. So it said that the Iliad is about the ideal warrior, and the Odyssey is about the human being, either man or human being. And so at the beginning of book one, uh, subtitled Athena Inspires the Prince. Sing to me of the man, muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course, once he had plundered the hallowed heights of Troy. Many cities of men he saw and learned their minds. Many pains he suffered, heartsick on the open sea, fighting to save his life and bring his comrades home. But he could not save them from disaster, hard as he strove. The recklessness of their own ways destroyed them all. The blind fools, they devoured the cattle of the sun, and the sun god wiped from sight the day of their return. Launch out on his story, Muse, daughter of Zeus. Start from where you will. Sing of our time. Sing for our time, too. It just occurred to me that Odysseus is surrounded by people who make foolish decisions against the ways of the world. They're disrespectful to the natural and the divine order, and they suffer death from it, and they are no longer part of Odysseus's retinue, and which is whittled down to simply him eventually. And then when he arrives home, he is suddenly given much more treasure than they say he would have gotten as his sort of fair share from Troy. And something parallel happens with his wife Penelope sort of simultaneously back at home, his home in Ithaca, where she is surrounded by these reckless suitors who are trying to wed her, and they eventually are, yeah, killed by the sort of righteously vengeful Odysseus along with his son Telemachus. But yeah, but you and I started talking about how maybe as the typical man slash human being, Odysseus is the sufferer, is the wanderer, is the one who keeps being pushed about on the barren sea uh, by, vengeful divine power, by fate, Poseidon, Neptune, the god of the sea. Uh, but yeah, how typical do you think that is? How sort of, I don't know, instructive is that of human life?
Mm. Well, like I think in terms of instructive, it's kind of maybe like a useful reminder for people that trials and tribulations happen to everyone. Because yeah, there are those people around Odysseus meeting terrible ends and making bad decisions, like you mentioned. But he's not immune to it either, despite being like a great warrior and stuff. So,
Yeah, he's
uh,
super gifted and
yeah,
blessed. He's being watched after by one of
yeah,
the gods, Athena, who is Zeus's own daughter. And
yeah.
yet he still, yeah, suffers and suffers for 10 years,
Hmm.
9 or 10 years.
Yeah, so even like the favored one is still not completely safe. Um,
Yeah. Although that's also, he made one of the biggest mistakes you can make
Hmm.
I think the formula, the sort of formula in ancient times that Herodotus also picks up on at the from the beginning of, I think, how he thematically sort of organizes the histories. And Herodotus considered the father of history. Uh, how hybris leads to nemesis. So hubris, pride leads to destruction.
Hmm.
And he does this in the context of like the Greeks and the Persians, how the Persians are the arrogant, huge power in the neighborhood, and yeah, they're the prideful ones that get their
Hmm.
comeuppance. But anyway, yeah, Odysseus. So they talk about him as wily and favored. Uh, he's experienced in many places, many cities of men he saw and learned their minds. He's intelligent and he's learned many things and many pains he suffered. So all that stuff did happen to him, and he's virtuous, in many ways. But yeah, as we talked about before we started recording, he did have pride when he and his men had finally, well, some of them were like killed and eaten by Polyphemus, the Cyclops. Uh, but when they find the ones that did get away, and Odysseus finally did get away, he couldn't resist like bragging about it to Polyphemus, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, how Polyphemus was able to identify the person who had blinded him to his father, Poseidon. And so that was not all of, I think, his suffering uh, on his way back home, but I think a lot of it was because you know, he had to brag. He had to have this Cretan, uh, you know, uh, giant know what he had, who had messed with him, who had beaten him. And I think most people, especially most men, can understand that kind of wanting their name to be known. Yeah, so he's not totally wise and blameless in the annals of virtue. But yeah, but maybe that makes, if he is taken as an ideal sort of human being, or very human, uh yeah. I mean, do you think an artist could describe a a prototypical, I don't know if that's the right word here, but anyway, a truly human without pride?
You're asking if such a person exists.
No, if
Mm.
more like if okay, well, do you think of such a person exists?
Mm. Yeah, I don't really know about that. Because on one hand, I would think that person needs to have a little bit of that to like preserve dignity in a way, but I'm not really sure if maybe I'm
So the
wrong
question is
about it.
more just,
Yeah.
do you think a truly human, that is a true human depicted in art? Because even, yeah, at the beginning of this of the book, he calls on the muse, so it's in a way, yeah, indicating to the reader and listener that this is a work of art. But yeah, do you think a truly human depiction could be, I don't know, complete without pride? No, I think certainly not in a warrior culture.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable.
Do you think pride has ever hurt you in your life?
Mm, I can't really recall an incident, really.
Or have you ever
But
seen that happen?
um, trying to think. I don't really know if a specific incident, but I know like some people that are really down on their luck or something might refuse charity for those kinds of reasons, even
Mm.
though they're clearly suffering.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you're talking about real needs and pride maybe
yeah,
preventing people from getting them met. But especially with my reading of Rousseau, I'm thinking of artificial needs, of
oh,
needs that are felt that are not necessary, but have been sort of put there by society, like other people's
oh,
opinions. You
oh,
mentioned
like
dignity before. To me, there's probably a healthy version of dignity and an unhealthy version, which what would you call that? Just vanity.
yeah,
Vanity and then so you have vanity, you have social comparison, then you have a lot of
mm,
envy, then you're certainly driven, getting back to Odysseus, driven about the man of many twists and turns. Probably not that, but yeah, the man driven off course
mm,
constantly, driven off course many times and
mm,
not making it back home many times
mm,
because of yeah, because you're pursuing the wrong things. But you don't think, do you think vanity? I know for me, I think for me, vanity has played a large role in my life
mm,
and I'm sort of I realized that even years ago, but I kind of was I vain about it or yeah, I was vain about it in a way or I did not
mm,
think it was that big a deal or something or I
mm,
think I kind of thought it was almost a good thing, you
mm,
know. But um yeah, I wished instead I had spent more time trying to yeah, build my virtue,
mm,
have something to be proud of.
mm. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything right away, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe social anxiety might be like a kind of issue with vanity in a way, in some
Of
ways,
course it can be.
of how you look. So I'm certainly have that, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm just scared of looking dumb or sounding dumb.
Mhm.
So
That's right.
that's
Yeah, when
yeah,
people yeah, have social phobia or anxiety, uh if you take the label at face value and don't think deeply, yeah, it might be a way of justifying justifying having it or medicalizing it and not really taking responsibility and understanding also that uh yeah, you're adding on to it from yeah. Are you afraid of looking dumb? Are you afraid that people will not see you as you want to be seen? And how do you want to be seen? You know, yeah, are you talking about wanting to have certain status and, then we're talking about vanity and everything, Yeah. I think there's a lot of that and probably most people
Mm.
that are, yeah, afraid or shy in some way, maybe, or, yeah, have anxiety or something.
Yeah, so I'd say maybe, yeah, it plays a role in my life that way. But yeah, I think I just have a fear of looking incompetent. That's one fear I have, or incapable. Then it's like dumb and stupid, like another concern. Um,
You literally mean dumb and stupid?
or just dumb, like, or silly or something. I don't know, but
What do you mean exactly?
um, well, I guess just looking socially incompetent or something. Yeah, or
Oh,
like
okay.
maybe I'm doing things wrong or not saying the right things, and maybe uh putting people off in some kind of way. Yeah,
So they won't like you after that?
yeah. Uh, so
And then
yeah,
you won't
that's
have friends or you won't have connections. You'll be isolated. You'll be out alone. Is this like
yeah,
Odysseus again, out on the barren sea?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, any more thoughts about that?
No, just that maybe that's how pride or needless pride has manifested in my life.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge these things, and also maybe not to talk endlessly about them and not try to know yourself and maybe to, I don't want to say change yourself, but yeah, be careful of how it might hold you back in life or uh harm your relationships. I mean, past, yeah, pride past a certain point. I mean, you could be trying to get more from people than you give to them. But yeah, I don't know. Seems like the thing is to, yeah, Odysseus without his pride, he would have gotten home soon. Uh, the drama wouldn't have been as good, but maybe the idea is like to experience the drama so you don't have to experience nearly as much in real life. You don't have to be tossed and turned as much in real life. But that requires seeing uh deep into yourself and and not reacting too much. I know I'm trying to do that. I think journaling and meditation helps with that a lot. But yeah, so maybe we'll think about the role of pride and taking responsibility for that, vanity and things, and get back next week.